All right, good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. We got a long day ahead of us, but it'll be a fun day. So good morning, everyone. My name is Lee Reiners. I'm the Executive Director of the Global Financial Markets Center at Duke Law. And on behalf of myself and the conference co-chair, Doug Breeden, we'd like to welcome you to 10 Years from the Bottom, a reflection on the financial crisis and its lasting impact. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this event possible. They include the Finance Club at Fuqua, the Global Financial Markets Center at Duke Law, the Duke Financial Economics Center, the Duke Center for Political Leadership, Innovation, and Service at the Sanford School, and Duke Corporate Education. As the name of this conference implies, 10 years ago this month marked the bottom of the worst stock market decline the United States has seen since the Great Depression. In the 17 months leading up to March 2009, the value of all US stocks dropped from a peak of $22 trillion to $9 trillion, a staggering loss of wealth. But the global financial crisis and the Great Recession that followed is about so much more than just what happened to the stock market. As a university that prides ourselves on being interdisciplinary, this anniversary provides us with an opportunity to come together and reflect on the broader consequences of the financial crisis, consequences which continue to shape our world. Take our current political climate. The bank bailouts that were initiated by the Bush administration and continued under the Obama administration gave rise to the Tea Party movement, which emerged as a political force in 2009. Much of the Tea Party's rhetoric and policies were adopted by presidential candidate Donald Trump, who frequently criticized Wall Street excess on the campaign trail and even called for a return of Glass-Steagall, which had separated commercial and investment banking for over 60 years. On the left, frustration over the financial crisis and the government's response fueled the emergence of Occupy Wall Street. While the Occupy movement was less successful than the Tea Party in terms of electoral gains, its ideology lives on in several high-profile Democratic presidential candidates who have called for breaking up the big banks. In many European countries, the financial crisis and the austerity policies that followed paved the way for new or resurgent populist and nationalist political parties. And of course, the UK's decision to leave the European Union was in part due to economic anxiety triggered by the financial crisis. Wealth inequality is one of the defining issues of our time, and it too has been profoundly influenced by the crisis. Because the lower and middle classes hold a higher proportion of their wealth in housing compared to the wealthy, who hold a higher proportion in stocks, the steep decline in home prices during the crisis and the subsequent rebound in the stock market led to the largest spike in wealth inequality in post-war American history. As you can see, the fact that the stock market is up over 300% since hitting its crisis-era low 10 years ago is of little consequence to many Americans. And despite the fact that the Dodd-Frank Act implemented the most sweeping financial industry reform since the Great Depression, there remains considerable doubt that US regulators have the tools to prevent a similar crisis from happening in the future. Our goal for today is to better understand the lasting economic, legal, social, and political impact of the crisis. To do this, we have assembled an extraordinary group of speakers, many of whom are on the front lines dealing with the crisis in some capacity. We begin with a panel that will look at the financial and economic causes and consequences of the crisis, followed by an examination of how regulators in the US responded to the crisis and how Congress attempted to strengthen the regulatory oversight in its aftermath. After a lunch break, we will hear how behavioral biases fueled the housing bubble and subsequent crash, which will then be followed by a talk on the role the Federal Reserve played in supplying much-needed liquidity to our financial system. Our afternoon panel begins with a look at the social and political implications of the crisis, both in the US and abroad, which will be followed by a discussion around current vulnerabilities to the financial system. Finally, the conference concludes with a conversation between David Rubenstein and Alan Schwartz.